to 10 a.m. and you're listening to Salam Media.
We're going to see if we can get an update on the water issues in the city of Joburg, and hopefully we will do just that. Number one. Number two, we'll chat as part of the feature that we have about South African imams. We'll chat to Imam Ismail Lant later on. Of course, he's the imam of the that very important mosque in Cape Town, the most historic mosque in terms of being the number one mosque, the first one ever built here, of the Awal Masjid, right? And we'll check, we've got a new feature called My First Ramadan. What that means, people who are embracing Ramadan for the very first time. It means they're just new to Islam. In that case, they revert to Islam and therefore fasting for the first time. And it's a whole new world that maybe you and I take for granted. So what does that really mean? So we'll be chatting to Nicole Johnson, who's a young Muslim living in Denmark, and we talk about her very first Ramadan. That comes up later on. Let's, however, start talking about finance and business and all that sort of thing. And we do this every day on this Ashraf Garda show with the team from 27/4, right? My guest is Keletso Mphomane, who's the investment associate at 27/4. Keletso, appreciate your time. Good morning.
Good morning, Ashraf, and to your listeners.
Thank you. Right, you've got lots to talk about this morning. Let's start with Petro SA, and they have some plans. What are their plans?
So, following the announcement from BPSA to exit their operations in supplying fuel to the airports in South Africa, Petro SA saw that as a gap to enter. And Petro SA is a state-owned gas-to-fuel company. It's a state-owned company, and they saw this as a gap to enter this market to supply with jet fuel.
And I mean, that's all happened very quickly, right? I mean, one day we hear about an exit, the next day we hear about an entry. I mean, does that surprise you?
It doesn't really surprise me. I think it will be good business for Petro SA. However, because it's a state-owned entity and we know our history with state-owned entity, it is a worry in terms of the expertise, whether or not they do have this expertise, the expertise in the specific environment, because it's quite complex. It's not like an easy environment, and like I said, it's always a worry for a state-owned to enter like a private market, but it'll be very interesting. But to answer your question, it doesn't really surprise me.
I think you made the point very well that we've already battled with state-owned enterprises. I mean, Eskom absolutely jumps off the page. Issues of water as well. You'd think that at this point in time, why would another state-owned entity want to do some foraging into these spaces? Let them just stay and be best at what they are. But it does ask that question: what sort of gap will they be filling, assuming they've got the expertise to deliver?
Please repeat that, Ashraf. Sorry, your last question.
Assuming Petro SA has got the expertise that you've questioned, what sort of gap will they be filling with the exit of BP in that space?
So they'll be supplying jet fuel, which is one of the market that BP was filling. So that's the market or the gap that they'll be filling, to answer your question.
Okay, let's talk about another guy who's very much in the news, born in South Africa, making waves around the world, good or bad, Elon Musk. He's pronounced about Twitter, a company that he owns. What did he say? What did he tweet?
So just to give you a timeline, last year in October, Elon Musk bought Twitter and made it a private company. He bought it for about $44 billion US. And there's been an email leaked, which he sent to his staff, explaining that the market value of Twitter has dropped significantly from 44 billion, or what was 44 billion when he initially bought it, to less than 20 billion. And this is because since Elon Musk had bought Twitter, they struggled with retaining advertisers. So that's what put pressure on their market value.
Okay, so that's interesting that they've certainly retained audience, and they've retained subscribers. I'm one of them, right? Notwithstanding what he may or may not say about a blue tick that comes up soon, we'll see. But you're saying that advertisers have dropped off. Do you have any idea how much, in terms of percentages dropped off and the implications thereof, besides the share price dropping?
No, I don't have like the exact numbers of how much advertising they've lost. So you'll recall in their restructuring, they fired a lot of staff that was in the process, or that was involved in content moderation, so censoring, because the strategy, or Elon Musk's strategy, was to make Twitter a freedom of speech platform. So because there wasn't censoring in that, so a lot of advertisers have left Twitter. So that has put pressure on.
And I understand. I mean, I think the biggest concern was in the freedom of speech without moderation. It opened up doors again to very, let's call them right-wing, conservative, almost fascist type of communication, which was banned or curtailed a long time ago, starting with number one Donald Trump. By the way, just as a point, right? What did he, in that leaked email, did he suggest the way forward?
No, he didn't. So the main reason for the email to his staff was to explain that because they're in the process of share grants to their staff, there has to be a market value of the company, which will be the premise of how much value the shares which are going to be awarded to the staff will be worth. So he didn't touch on what you've just mentioned right now.
But he may well tweet about it this afternoon. You never know, because he would do things like that. Let's talk about the banking industry, specifically around UBS and Deutsche Bank. What's happened there?
So you'll recall in the past few weeks, there's just been a crisis or panic in the market because of the banking sector, or in the global banking sector after the collapse of SVB, the Silicon Valley Bank. So recently, it's not causality, but Deutsche Bank came with an announcement that they will be repurchasing back some of their debt, or they'll be repurchasing the debt sooner than expected. That should boost confidence in the market, but that was not the case on Friday. So what happened was we saw the credit default swaps, which is an insurance that debt holders take when they expect that there will be a default. So we saw that spike, and the share price for Deutsche Bank collapsing, and some of other global big banks, their share price also tumbled.
And of course, a big concern for all of us. You don't have to answer that right away, but it's a concern in terms of some of the banks collapsing. I mean, we made a point about Swiss Bank the other day. Are we in for another global recession? I just hope not. So don't answer that. We can just think about it. Perhaps we'll even talk about that tomorrow. Keletso, appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Keletso Mphomane from 27-4, right? So we'll do that. We do that every day, in fact, during this month of Ramadan. The show is called the Ashraf Garda Show. So stick around. I hope you're enjoying it. I'd love your feedback. In fact, here's a question to you. What about the show as you tune in? What's the one thing that we're doing that you just love that we do, number one? And number two, what's the one thing that's missing in our bouquet of topics that you think, like, come on, Ashraf, let's do this every day? So you tell us, because I want to hear you, but that means you have to tell me. And how you do it is WhatsApp is the best way to do that. 061 766 0355. You can text or you can voice note, which is fine. You can also comment on the back of the Salam Media and the Ashraf Garda social media pages, but certainly from Salam Media point of view, because they post, as you know, a lot of this live. It then lands on YouTube as well, but also on Twitter, as well as the Salam Media Facebook and Instagram pages. So wherever you are, Salam Media will get to you. I mean, that's the bottom line to that, right? Talking about getting to you, the South African cricket team, the T20 cricket team, well, they certainly got to the world and they blew the West Indians apart. We'll talk about that around 9:30, some historic records that were notched up, okay? But to get to that, the feature that we are starting is called My First Ramadan. And I wonder what your first Ramadan was like. We'll talk about that with Nicole Johansson, just after this.